I made a zine. What, you don't know what a zine is? Why'd you click on this video? Oh. You were hoping that I would tell you what a zine is, and that I'd show you how to make one. Fine, whatever. But before we do that, let's roll the intro. So if you clicked on this video, come on, get out of here. There's a good chance you already know what a zine is. For those of you that don't know what it is, let me briefly explain. A zine, which is just short for fanzine or magazine, is usually just a short, self-published, handmade publication of some kind. They're generally very popular with counterculture movements like the Beat Generation or in punk culture, and they're usually handmade, as I mentioned, and copied using cheap and crude methods like a copy machine and distributed by hand. I've been wanting to create a zine for a long while, and so when I was in Copenhagen at the end of last year on an unexpected trip delivering a mystery box to a stranger, really interesting story. If you haven't seen it, you should check out the video for that trip up here. But I was there and I love that city and I always want to share it with as many people as possible, and so I thought this might be a great time to take a set of photos on one specific topic, one specific location, and turn it into my first zine. So I had my medium format camera with me, my Zenza Bronica ETRSI, which I love. It's an amazing camera. And I had a bunch of rolls of Fuji Pro 400H. So I shot, I think, 8 rolls total while I was there. And so I shot around 7 or 8 rolls total while I was there, and I brought them home. And then they sat for 6 months. Due to procrastination and the cost of actually getting them developed, I let them sit for a long time. Until recently, I went and got them developed at a professional lab here in New York City, and then I brought them home and scanned them myself, and I turned them into a zine. Now there are a lot of ways to create a photo zine, a lot. I wanted to go the cheapest and easiest route. Not only easiest for me, but easiest for people who wanted to buy them, like you, right? You're gonna buy one, right? Please? 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 So I decided to use Amazon KDP, which stands for Kindle Direct Publishing. There are other websites and other services online you can use like Ingram Spark and Blurb. I checked them out and they're great. They are really great, but they're a little bit expensive, at least definitely more expensive than Amazon KDP. And so I decided to go with Amazon KDP. And I will say, for some people, when they're making a photo zine, the integrity of the colors and the photo and the specific paper and all of that is extremely important to them. The layout of the book was important to me, and I wanted my photos to look good. But focusing on those details to the level that you would for a published photo book was not important to me, because I wanted to get this out to as many people as possible. And when I got the book, I was very happy with how the photos look in there. I think that they look beautiful. I'm happy with the quality of the book, but I know that there are some of you out there that would want and would demand higher quality for your photo zine. And if that's the case, you're gonna have to look for alternate methods. I'll have a playlist actually linked below and linked up here for some other people here on YouTube who talk about their process for creating a photo zine, because there's so many different ways to do it. But here we're gonna talk about Amazon KDP, and in order to do that, we need to move over to the computer. So let's do that. Kindle Direct Publishing. Why did I choose to use KDP? The main reason was that it was very inexpensive to have the books made, and they are made on demand and available through Amazon. What that means is that anybody can go to Amazon. As long as they have an Amazon account, they can purchase a book, and the books are made on demand. I don't have to buy a bunch of books ahead of time and invest my money in that. People could just go to Amazon, buy the book for very cheap, $15, and Amazon will print one of those books and send it directly to them. It's very easy for me. It's very easy for the people purchasing the book. So that's why I chose KDP. Once you are logged in, if you haven't created an account, you can do that as long as you have an Amazon account. You log into KDP, and then right here, you click to create a paperback. So this is where we enter in all the details. So choose the language, the book title. If it's in a series, you can put that here, edition number. I'm not gonna go through all of these fields. I'll link a video that goes through this field by field, the whole process, but I'm just gonna go over the major stuff. So you put in all your book information, and then down here, you're gonna click Save and Continue. And on the second page, is where you upload your paperback content. So this is basically where you upload your book. I chose a color interior with white paper and an 8x10 book. You can select different sizes. You can select different types of paper depending on the type of book that you got. If it's a hardcover, I think you have more paper options. Definitely, even if your book and your photos are in black and white, you're going to want to choose color interior rather than black and white interior, just because this printing process is higher quality than the black and white printing that they use. Black and white is meant for books with just text. And I will say, this is not offset printing like you would normally see with photo books and stuff. It is digital photo print on paper, and the photos in my book still look great. I love them. But again, if you want something that is of higher quality, if you want offset printing, you're going to have to go with a different service, because Amazon KDP does not offer that. Bleed settings, choose bleed, definitely, especially if you're going to want photos that go all the way to the edge of your book, and we'll talk about that more in just a second. And then you can choose whether you want matte or glossy. I chose matte. And then this is where you upload your book. Upload paperback manuscript. You need to make it in a PDF format, and then you also upload the cover, which is a PDF as well. So let's look at how I made my book. There are programs that you can get, like Adobe InDesign, that is great because it is exactly made for that. It's made for making magazines and publications, but I don't really know how to use InDesign that well. In fact, I've only used it once, and I wanted to use something that was a little bit more accessible and free for everyone. So I actually made my zine in Google Slides. Yes, Google Slides. If you have a Google account, you go to slides.new in your URL, and it'll create a new deck for you. So Google Slides is the free version of PowerPoint, yes, but it's so powerful you can use it for a lot of different things, including making your own zine. So what I did first, I went to File, and I went to Page Setup, and I made sure that my pages were the right size. So you can actually get templates that have bleed guides and things like that, so that you know where your photos may be getting cut off, and you know where to put them if you want it to go all the way to the edge. That's essentially what bleed means. Bleed means that they will print over where the paper is going to cut to make sure that it gets all the way to the edge. Otherwise, there could potentially be a gap because there are variances in the way that paper is cut sometimes when they're making books. A little trick that you can use with Google Slides is you can add rulers to make sure that you are placing your photos where exactly you want them to be placed. So if you just click up here, if you don't see your rulers, you can click to View, Show Ruler, and on either side, and then you click in the ruler and drag it down, and say I want my photo 2 inches down from the top. I just drag it down, see it says 2, place that there, and then I want it 1 inch from the left-hand side. I can do that. And now when I insert a photo, and what you can do that by clicking Insert, Image, and Upload from Computer. And we'll just use this picture of Adam Driver that I made symmetrical. You can see now when I'm dragging this photo around, I can place it exactly onto those rulers. It'll snap to those rulers. And so I can place it exactly where I want it. You can also see that it'll snap to the center line. So that's the center, the vertical center line, and then there's the horizontal center line. So if I wanted to center on the page, I can do that as well. You can see how powerful this is just from being a free PowerPoint program. So when you're creating your zine, it's important to know the layout of your zine. A lot of people will print out their photos and make physical layouts, pairing photos together on their table so they know exactly what everything's going to look like together. It's a little bit more difficult to see here. So down at the bottom, you can actually switch to a grid view and it'll show you your pages next to one another. I knew what photos I wanted to pair together and sort of in what order. And so the first one I added was this bike here. I wanted to start out the book with something that was very Danish, very much speaks to Copenhagen. And if you've ever been to Copenhagen, you know, there are a lot of bikes. And there's a lot of old architecture. And so this photo to me seemed very iconically Copenhagen. And then the other thing too is that they have these beautiful waterways, these beautiful canals, not exactly like Amsterdam, but they are unique to Copenhagen. And so I had this photo of a waterway with this modern architecture and one of the famous spires of Copenhagen there, and a man just sitting there that looked like maybe he was missing his bike. He needed a bike. So I paired those two together, not just because they were both very, very Copenhagen-y, if that's a word. And if we go here, you can see a little bit better. There's some nice greens in the sky and in the water there. And then you have some darker greens at the bike and the wall there. So I felt like those paired really well together. And I won't go through every single photo pairing. I'll go through a few though, just so you get an idea of how and why you would pair certain photos together and why it's important to do so when you're making a photo zine. So here's another one. This was a photo of a building in Christiania, Freetown in Copenhagen, which is this sort of sovereign community in the middle of the city. It's one of my favorite places. It's an old building with beautiful colors and set of doors that were open. And then I paired it with this photo of this woman. I waited for like 15 minutes for someone to walk by and was able to capture her and catch her. This was a driveway with a door, and catch her right in the doorway. But she's walking from right to left, and I shrunk the photo. It's not, the size doesn't match up perfectly, but you can see these doorways are basically the same size, and she's walking towards this one. So I felt like those paired nicely, and I had the photo placed and sized accordingly so that it, maybe gave you the idea that she was walking into this door. And then another example of that is these two photos here from the Louisiana Museum of Modern Art. I have this photo from inside the window of this man looking out towards the water. There's some kids looking at an art installation down here. I love this photo so much. There's just enough detail in the shadows that you can see, but it's not too bright. But then here is the same window but from the outside, and there's a woman looking out the same window but down at me. And so because she's looking off this way, I felt like it was appropriate to have her placed on the right hand side in a larger size. And the windows, the reason I made this a little bit smaller is so that the windows were approximately the same size. So we weren't seeing a jumbo version of the windows from the inside and then a jumbo version of the windows from the outside. We're seeing the windows approximately the same size, but from different perspectives. You can sort of justify anything, pairing any photos, but I think it's important to really look at your photos and to figure out what pairs nicely. Adam Driver over here pairs nicely with The End. Ryan Connolly from Film Riot says, sometimes you just have to kill your babies. And what he means by that is that you are going to fall in love with your art inevitably, and it doesn't always make sense to include that art. If you're making a photo zine and there's a photo that you absolutely love, but it doesn't make sense in the context of the book's narrative or the book's theme, then you may not be able to include it. And I had to do that with some of my photos here from Copenhagen. It's also worth mentioning that Amazon KDP has a minimum of 24 pages. So even if you don't have 24 photos that you want to include, you have to include some blank pages at the end, otherwise they won't let you upload your manuscript. But once you have everything laid out, everything's good, make sure that your photos are high res before you upload them. You'll click File, Download, and then you'll want to save it as a PDF document. And then we'll go back to KDP and we'll upload the paperback manuscript. So you just find that PDF that you just downloaded and created and upload it. Now you'll also need to create a cover. So you can actually download a template for the cover as well. And you can do that in Photoshop if you want. You can do it wherever you want. You can come back here to slides if you want to. Just make sure that the document size, the page size matches the size that is mandated in the template. But you'll create a cover, back and front, and you'll upload that as well. And then once both of those say uploaded successfully, and it may take a few minutes, you can launch your previewer. You come in here, I can see, oh, there's my cover. I can look at the first pages. Looks great. Everything is exactly as I wanted it. You can see these lines here, these dotted lines. This is the bleed that I was talking about. So if your photos go beyond that, there's a chance that they could get cut off or they could be included in the binding. And so you may want to butt stuff up against the edge or make it go past the edge if you want it all the way to the edge of the book. You get the idea. But definitely go through here, go through every single page of the book to make sure it looks exactly like you want it to. But once you're done, you click approve and you're good to go. Your book is uploaded and you can save and continue. And this is where you go for pricing and all that kind of stuff. So I made sure that my book was available in all territory with worldwide rights. So anyone, anywhere in the world that has access to Amazon could purchase my book. And you can see here some transparency. I set the price of my book to $15. The minimum was $9.13. The reason for that is because Amazon wants their cut as well. But printing the book only cost me $3.65. So you're thinking, okay, $3.65, you're charging $15. Why isn't your royalty $12? Well, that's because Amazon takes 60% of the purchase price. And they take 60% of this, and then they subtract the printing price from that. So 60% of $15 is what, $8, something like that. And then they take away $3.65, so then you're left with $5.35 royalty. So that's about how much I make on each book. Not a whole lot, but I didn't make this book to become rich. Once you've done that, you're done. It can take up to 72 hours, you can see here, for your book to be available to purchase. It took about 2 days for me, but you can publish your paperback book just by clicking this button. And then once it's live, you'll see the book here in your bookshelf. It's live. It says unpublished changes, which is because of all the stuff that we just did, but it's here. It's available on Amazon. If I go to view on Amazon, I can go look, and this is such a cool feeling. My book is here on Amazon. And you can see it's number 88 in general Denmark travel guides and number 14,429 in photography and video books. Your book will be available here on Amazon. You could link people directly to it and feel good about yourself. So that is how I made this. By the way, this book is called Uventet ferie, and what that means is unexpected holiday in Danish. I'm super, super happy and proud of this book. If you are interested in purchasing one, like you saw, they're only $15. Available on Amazon. There are links below in the description in case you'd like to buy one. You can also go to my website, which is checkoutjacob.com. But I hope this helped out people who want to make zines themselves. I had to do a bunch of searching and scouring online to try to find information when I decided to make my first zine. And not a lot of it was easy to find. So I'm hoping this video is helpful to you. If you have any questions about the process, things that you can't figure out yourself, leave them in the comments. I'll try to answer as best as I can. I'm not a professional or super experienced with this by any means, since this was my first and only zine, but I definitely will be making more in the future. And as soon as I do, I'll share them with all of you. I've got a lot of great ideas, so I'm excited to, once all of this stuff is over and we're allowed back outside, I'm excited to make some more, because I really love this. It's also such a cool feeling just having a book that you made in your hands and available on Amazon. Anyway, thank you to those who have purchased one of these already. There are a bunch of you that have purchased them already, and I love you for it. I love that people are willing to support my art. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And that's all for now. Thank you, as always, very much for watching, and don't forget to create and explore. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.